Welcome to the Bolt Brotherhood Podcast. I'm Christian Spears, Air Force Academy class of 2015 and former Air Force football player. This podcast is about brotherhood, leadership, and life after the game, both active duty and beyond. My goal is simple: bring together current and former players to share real stories, lessons learned, and where life has taken us after the academy. What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of the Bolt Brotherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Christian Spears, class of 2015, and today I'm joined by another special guest from the Bolt Brotherhood. Who we have with us today is Jared Jones. Jared is a 2015 graduate of the Air Force Academy, so fellow classmate of mine, bros. During his time at the Academy and on the Fighting Falcon football team, Jared played the position of outside linebacker. And so edge guy. Jared currently resides in Chandler, Arizona, and he is in the defense tech sales space. So, Jared, happy to have you on the show, man. Welcome.
I appreciate the invite, Christian. I love what you're doing, man. We're not talking, we're not communicating enough, man. So I'm excited.
Yeah, this will be good. It'll be good to catch up. Like I said to our audience, classmate of mine, Jared and I go all the way back to the prep school. So we were preppies together, class of 2011. I will say I was probably in the best squad. He was in one of those other squads. I was in the best squad, but yeah, we go back since it's been quite a bit of time. But yeah, so Jared, welcome to the show. Happy to have you. Excited to chat, chop it up, and spotlight your story from your time at the Air Force Academy. So as those of us who are familiar with the show and have been tuning in, what we'll go to now is what I refer to as the Bolt Brotherhood life cycle. And so what I want to start with your journey, Jared, is obviously you were recruited to play football. Tell me about some of your earliest memories from either being recruited, taking your visit, and then you went the prep school route. But what are some of your earliest recollections of being at the Air Force Academy? And then beyond that, we'll go into more details about the academic side and the athletic side.
Man, right whenever you're asking that question, I remember it fondly. It was walking to the prep school. It was getting on a flight to go to the prep school for basic training. And you remember how at the prep school, kind of your pseudo-sponsor families would pick you up at the airport and take you on to I-Day the next day. Well, in my group for that night was Spencer Proctor.
There we go.
And
another 2015er.
Another 2015er, yep. And Spencer and I, how do I put this nicely, not trying to make fun of myself too much here, this beginning, Spencer's built a little differently than I am. And he has that little country draw to him from Tennessee. And I was like, because whenever you're getting recruited, obviously, you're a Texan, so of course nothing's better than Texas football. Right? So out here in Arizona, it was a little bit different. And I remember I saw Spencer Proctor, and I swear he was wearing a size small shirt, but we won't get into that too much. But
he definitely was looking put together. I remember that.
Linebacker looks like. And it was intimidating, man. But no, that's one of my favorite memories. Obviously, Spencer ended up being great for us. But yeah, that's my first memories is you go from being big fish in a small pond to a real small fish real quick.
Yeah, 100%. Very good. So, I remember that. I remember, it's kind of one of those things, man, even at the Air Force Academy, even like when you're going out on the recruiting tours at other schools, and you just you can't help but try and like do the eye test, right? People are doing the eye test on you, you're doing the eye test on other people. So, yeah.
Honestly, my recruiting story is kind of interesting, man. So I didn't have a real traditional path getting recruited. I actually owe getting recruited to Ben DeMar, who is a 2014 guy. He's a non-preppy, so that's why he's a year ahead of us. But Air Force was actually at my game playing against Ben DeMar. And that's how I ended up actually getting connected with the Air Force Academy. So unfortunately, by that time, they had already allocated all of their 2010 scholarships. So I got an offer from the Academy the day before, February 2nd of 2010 is when I got my offer from the Air Force Academy. I think it took me all of 2 hours to commit, and I signed the next day on National Signing Day.
There we go. And look at you now, man. Got the jerseys in the background, rocking the Air Force gear. So it all worked out.
Yeah, let's see. I earned that one. I think I bought that one.
There we go. It looks good. Very good, man. So let's talk a little bit more about your time at the prep school. And for our audience, right, the prep school has come up a time or two in previous episodes. And we'd love to hear about your experience more so around the preparation. Because the Air Force Academy Preparatory School is a place that's supposed to prepare you academically, militarily, for your time as a cadet at the Air Force Academy. And at the prep school, we're not quite cadets yet. We're actually cadet candidates. And so I'm just curious. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm curious, like, how was that for you? How was the preparation? And then when you did get to in processing day, the following June of what would have been 2011, and you started your career at the Air Force Academy, did you feel prepared? Like, was the prep school, a good use of your time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only from a preparation standpoint, but I think as you can attest to here, Christian, is the bonds that you form with your preppies is just different. Also from an athletic standpoint, athletic development, um, we had some dogs on the man. I say this year after year, and I bet it's still true today. If we could figure out a way to get 50, 60% of our preppies to graduation, man, we would be nasty. I mean, we had some of the best athletes I've ever played, even when we made it to the Hill and played against, the Michigans, the Notre Dames. I mean, Al Asker is one guy that I still remember him on the field. I mean, that's probably the best X we've ever recruited.
Yeah, yeah, I'd
But
agree.
anyways, yeah. From an overall preparation standpoint, I think the prep school is pivotal to the mission. Honestly, I think we're able to insert a lot of different backgrounds, different cultures that we really didn't have the resume, for lack of a better term, to get directly into the academy. Obviously, it's a very prestigious institution for a reason because of how selective it is. But the prep school in its mission, I think, does a wonderful job of getting different folks to the table. And I don't think I graduate if it's not for the prep school person.
Yeah.
I think with the bonds that I was able to form, the relationships, the academic preparation, the athletics, to help, kind of lean on, again, different brotherhood there. I owe my success to the prep school, I would actually say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The prep school for me was a place where I learned how to learn, and I learned how to ask for help because I've never shared this story publicly, and hey, you're the one to pull it out of me, Jared. But I remember, I talk about this often in the podcast. The Air Force Academy is a STEM institution, so all the engineering classes we take, the chemistry classes, the physics classes, and at the prep school for me, man, I was struggling like that first quarter. I was struggling, didn't know what 2 plus 2 equaled basically, right? And so that's how it felt. And I remember, one night I was in the woes and I called my mom. And if I'm being completely honest, maybe a few tears were streaming down my face. And I said, I don't think I could do this. And thankfully, she encouraged me and a woman of faith, prayed for me. And I remember it didn't click immediately, but what it did do for me is it taught me how to go to EI. It taught me how to go to extra instruction and tutoring and to start to ask questions. And had I not learned that lesson at the prep school, I would have struggled, I would have struggled really bad during my time at the academy. And so I agree with that sentiment.
Well, what's so cool about that, Spears, is, from the first day of basic to the last day of graduation, throwing your hand or your hat in the air. I mean, it's beat into us that you're not going to get through this alone. And I think at the prep school, while there was a little bit of a slap in the face, EI, only nerds go to tutoring. What in high school, right? So, I think it's really cool to where through all aspects of your life, whether it be academically, athletically, et cetera, militarily, you're not going through it alone. So I actually kind of like the indirect teamwork aspect that it gives you.
100%. Very well put. All right. So obviously, the academy is a academic, rigorous institution. We have the military side of things. But let's talk ball a little bit. You came in, and I'm assuming you were recruited as an outside linebacker, and then you played outside linebacker during your tenure on the Fighting Falcon football team. So tell me something about that. You already talked about the eye test that you saw on day one at the prep school, but what was some of your experience from the practice fields, the weight room, and all that entails as a Division I athlete?
Man, I love football. Football opened up doors for my family now. Obviously, I would have never gotten into the academy if I had not been a recruited athlete. But the transition from Friday Night Lights fun to a job, I mean, your position coach, quite literally, your performance on the field dictates whether they're going to keep their job, whether they're going to promote. I mean, the pressure, I don't know how to accurately put into words that you feel whenever you make it to the D1 level. And um, it can be fun. I mean, obviously, you get to play on a bigger stage. Obviously, we guys that play at, the big house and some of the notable stadiums around the country there, which is awesome. I mean, those are stories I can't wait to tell my grandkids.
Yep.
But I wasn't prepared for the preparation that it takes to be great. I don't know about you, but in high school, obviously I wasn't a highly recruited guy, as I just shared earlier, but, I got a couple all-state honors, and, I kind of kicked myself in the butt. I tell my wife this all the time, I wish I would have been a lot more disciplined in high school, and I would have worked a little bit harder. I think, maybe I could have gone further. Maybe I could have got on the field a little bit early on in Air Force. But I guess let's get candid here. I think I was probably lazy. And I wasn't prepared for the preparation that it takes to be great. And honestly, I think Coach Getty, I think every single person, every slap on the bolts on his helmet probably had a run-in with Getty, especially as a freshman.
Yeah, especially as a freshman.
I
exactly.
Think he whips those freshmen more than any cadre ever has. But I would say by the end of your time, probably by that sophomore, junior year, I would say more often than not, whenever you think about coaches that have made an impact, because Getty doesn't care about, yes, of course, we understand, who the real studs are on Saturdays, but Getty, he'll look a slot receiver that's, 5'7", 160 pounds soaking wet, just as much as he will, a Jason Collins, a 6'3", 270, built like a brick house, right?
Yeah.
But he cares about that person that's going to work.
Yeah.
And he cares about that character of when you're going to, overtime, right? That's what we always hear about. He wants to know what you got left in the tank always. And Getty, man, he whips you up into shape towards one of my more fond memories of getting the pride and respect. And whether he called you Spearsy or me Jonesy, or, once you get that E on the end of your name, you've earned Getty's respect.
100%.
Yeah. That's when you're a worker.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Coach McGettigan. Coach McGettigan, for those who don't know, has been the strength and conditioning coach at the Air Force Academy for many years, affectionately known as Coach Getty. And as Jared was just alluding to, he's been integral and instrumental to a lot of our stories at the Air Force Academy as football players, developing, trying to compete at a high level. And, you shared some other things, because I think you said earlier about, when you're in high school, you're that big fish in a little pond. And then when you transition to D1 sports, D1 football, I mean, it's just a whole new world, and like the standards are amped up and the expectations are amped up. And then now everybody's the man, right? When we were all coming out of high school, we were the man, with maybe onesie, twosies, threesies. But like when you're at that Division I level, everybody that you're looking to your left and to your right is the man, and we're all competing for a spot. And there's only 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and 11 on whatever the special teams is, and that's what you're fighting for.
Yeah. Well put, man. Well put.
Very good. So let's transition a bit. We talked a little about school and academics and that preparation that the prep school provided you. Got into football a little bit. So if there's any other things from the academy experience, feel free to share that. But I do want to highlight and talk about what graduation was for you. Oftentimes we talk about the crucible that the Air Force Academy is, and you were one of the fortunate people who made it to the finish line, and you were able to cross that stage at Falcon Stadium and throw your hat in the air and see the F-16s fly over. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I guess one more piece, and kind of during our precursor to actually starting, I think it's important to talk about. So obviously you're the brainchild behind this, which I think is just awesome. I love the fact that you're trying to get the community. Hopefully we get a couple of the older guys that have walked before us. And of course, I see you're trying to get some 2018ers here in the mix. And obviously this is very early on, but in your world, in your head, as you're kind of the leader behind this effort, what does being a member of the Bolt Brotherhood look like to you? What is success to you?
Yeah, very good. I appreciate the question. And for a little bit of context to our audience, obviously I like to, me and our guests will chop it up a bit before we get started on the show and kind of catch up and talk about the yesteryears. But Jared and I were alluding to this a little bit. For me, anyone who has strapped those bolts on their helmet, who is out on the practice field, who is in the weight room, who knows and had proximity to Coach McGettigan, aka Coach Getty, in my eyes and my mind, that is a person who has earned the title and the respect of being a Bolt brother. And the reason that Jared and I decided to unpack this a bit is because there have been times in full transparency where I'll reach out to guys like Jared, former teammates, people that we've had associations with, and they'll say, "Hey, Spears, I didn't play all 4 years. I quit after my sophomore year because I wanted to focus on academics, or hey, I got cut, and am I really a Bolt brother, right? And things of that nature. And I would love to hear some more of your story, Jared. But an example I give from a very recent episode was featuring Christoph George, and Christoph George talked about how he forewent his senior year and didn't compete in his senior year on the Falcon football team because he pursued other things at the Air Force Academy that were offering from a military leadership perspective. And so that's what we wanted to unpack a little bit.
Man, poor Christoph, goes to be the Wing King, then goes off to Harvard. I mean,
hard life. Yeah.
Loser. He didn't graduate as a football player. My gosh. No, I like Christoph. I actually got to see Christoph. Was it last year or the year before last? At the Army Navy game. One of the Army Navy games. Whoever was home, whenever I saw him. But
very good.
Yeah. So yeah. I was a bench warmer. So I was P. Got to play there. And then at the Army game, at the last game, that's whenever I tore my LCL. Going into freshman year, kind of working through rehab, a little bit of a bench warmer there on the practice squad there. As I think you got a little bit of freshman team time yourself. That stinks, man. Those are hard bus rides, man. It's a step below the P, I would say. You get crappy lockers, man. You just want to get over that varsity side, right?
Yeah.
Get to the hotel team. So yeah, I was a scout team guy freshman year, just trying to get better, really trying to focus on the weight room, all other aspects of development there. And then sophomore year, got the opportunity to start. Started probably 6 or 7 games. I battled through a couple different injuries.
And starting as an underclassman, by the way, is a big deal, especially at the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, honestly, I think it goes back maybe in a little bit of a full circle here to the preparation and an extra year of development. So, I mean, yes, that was my sophomore year, but that puts us at 21. So I guess that's, redshirt sophomore year. But yeah, so to get the opportunity to start quite a few games sophomore year, battled through some injuries. Going into junior year, also got a couple starts on my belt. Just honestly, my own fault, a little bit inconsistent play. And then actually going into senior year, at spring ball, I actually got cut. I got a concussion during unarmed combatives.
Wow.
During spring ball. And unfortunately that was, let's go with the undisclosed number that were documented by TP at the time, our lead trainer. And, I was cut, for medical reasons, right? It just didn't make sense. I just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my story. So I did not graduate a football player. I got the unique opportunity to walk on and do the bar challenge as a senior, which was a different challenge, but hey.
Yeah. That's something that comes up throughout. I just said earlier about how the academy is a crucible. It's a crucible of experiences. There's hardships, there's setbacks. We've had guys on the show who have had honor hits. We've had guys on the show who have alcohol, underage drinking. And then now we have your story and some of your hardships. So I want to pack that a little bit more and just tell me, getting that news, receiving that news, what was the progression beyond that? How did you still take that next step to say, hey, I still have value. I still have a place here at the academy, even if it's not in this capacity anymore. What was that transition like?
Yeah, that's fair, Spears. So first and foremost, I know we're going to get into this as far as, the overall flow, as far as identity, but, and we can unpack this a little bit later, but, from the age of 5 till 20, what was that, 22, going into senior year, I was a football player. I as you're well aware, Spears, I am not an athlete. I don't play basketball. I'm bad at golf. I couldn't do anything that the normal skill positions could do. All I can do is within a 2-yard box, I can hit you really hard. And that is the only skill set I have in the viewing game of football.
Yeah.
So anyways, whenever you lose that, man, that was hard. But, one of my favorite things, because I'm sure you get asked and all the other grads, because it is a unique institution to come from, is, oh man, what was it like? Are you happy with all that? My thing that I always say is, whether it's athletically, militarily, academically, all aspects that tries to build you to be an officer. I think the academy and I'm sure this applies to all of them. I think the academy does a fantastic job of whenever they see someone tripping to put a stick in front of you to make sure that you fall. And what they want is for the men and women to stand back up, right? That's this laboratory that they put us in.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for the forced adversity that they make you endure, whether it is the honor hits, whether it is the athletics, unachievements, or all the aspects that just build resilience. And I believe that makes you a stronger officer. I think it makes you a stronger person, a stronger employee, a father, a husband, etc. So
yeah, that's good, man.
I'm very fortunate for it.
Very fortunate. Yeah.
At 22 years old, it's very difficult to see past that first Saturday or that first Friday that you're not at the hotel. That first Saturday that you're not, getting amped up with the team and, the loud music and, those jitters and, all the fun parts. It was hard, man. I would actually go as far as say pretty dark because good, bad, or indifferent, the infamous TISO gap does exist. And whenever you identify through prep school, freshman, sophomore, junior year with your football brothers, unfortunately, I struggled with branching outside of my brothers for those first 3 years. Shame on me. But whenever you lose all your buddies and all of a sudden you start having afternoon classes and you look to your left and right on, those M1s and T1s, like, who do I sit by? I don't know these guys. And what a horrible, horrible missed opportunity for me to didn't take it. Just because they didn't play football, I couldn't associate. Like, shame on me. And honestly, if that's one thing I could go back, 10, 15 years now and put a boot in my butt, be like, what awesome individuals did we go to school with that I'm not connected? Yes. We have the same class ring. That's awesome. That's important. I'm a part of the club. But man, what a missed opportunity that I didn't actually genuinely connect with some of the awesome men and women that we had in our class.
That's big time. You unpacked a lot right there, Jared. We got to, I want to delve some more into it. So 2 things, and I'll talk about, you referenced the TISO gap. So I do want to address that for our audience first. Again, those who are within this community, this ecosystem, fully know whether you're an athlete or a non-athlete, you know what the TISO gap is. So I do want to elaborate for those of us for our guests who may not know what that is. And to put it plainly, this is what I just described. There are intercollegiate athletes at the Air Force Academy. A lot of our collegiate sports are Division I, and then there's another population that are there for the academics. There to ultimately, commission as officers in the U.S. Air Force or Space Force, which we all will. But there's that gap, right? Like, oh, I'm a student athlete, so I don't have afternoon classes because I have my sport. And then you have your non-athletes that kind of just go at not a different pace because it's all amped up very high, but it's just a bit of a different mode in different regards. So sometimes an athlete will look at a non-athlete like, oh, you have it easy, it's pie in the sky for you because you don't have the athletic workload. And then the non-athlete will look at the athlete like, oh, you get out of things, you don't do training, you don't do silver weekends, and so you have it pie in the sky for you. So that's the TISO gap that Jared is describing, and that's the first time this has come up on the show. So I'm glad we were able to shed light on that. And then you said something else about the academy has a way of when it sees you tripping, it puts a stick in front of you. Man, that was good. We really have to underscore that. We have to highlight that because it brings me back to an episode where we featured, I think, a 2018er, Aubrey Duty Tyson. And the title of that episode was Triumph Through Failure. And he talked about the hardships, and he talked about how he felt like his experience was the academy its intention is to make you fail, but see how you're going to respond to it. And so, it's just interesting to shed light on that. And I'll tell you one thing, when I graduated May 28th, 2015, I smiled real big and I said to myself, I'll never not smile again because I felt like I made it in life. But Jared, if I could tell you one thing, life puts those sticks in front of you too, and you keep tripping over them and falling down. And so I'm very thankful for my experience at the academy because you don't stop falling when you get done with undergrad. You don't stop falling when you get your bachelor's, right? Like life continues to throw those curveballs at you. So we're the better for it having had the experience that we had.
Yeah. Look, I welcome the sticks, man. I welcome the sticks, and I do owe a lot of the preparation for when these metaphorical sticks happen in my my real life. I owe a lot of the roots of the strength and foundation that you got, man.
Yeah, 100%. Very good. I'm glad we were able to delve into those details a little bit more. That's quality discussion there. So going back to where we were, Just would love to hear about graduation for you. How was your experience? You put the butter bar, second lieutenant, bars on your shoulder. You commissioned in the U.S. Air Force. So I'd love to hear about that experience on graduation day, what that meant to you, and if you could shed some light on your early career, as a second lieutenant, first lieutenant, and so on, commission.
So yeah, obviously May 28th, 2015, a day that, anyone that, 849 of us graduated will fondly remember. Every time it comes up in the calendar, you can't help but smile. Huge. I mean, just a sense of relief, because I would say, I don't want to speak for anyone else. I'm curious to get your take on this, but, until you're throwing your hat in the air, it just doesn't seem real.
Yes, agree.
It's like, because you do go to school with some high speed individuals in all aspects of life. And it's like, damn, am I one of these? And so until it becomes real, maybe I had a little bit of self-doubt. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of fun whenever you actually did get to participate and become a part of that, the long blue line.
Long blue line, yeah.
Like most of our buddies, grabbed a couple friends. We took a hop over to Germany and did a fun circle around Europe for about a month and a half, basically until we ran out of money. And then we came back over and, chilled until we went to our first duty assignment. I made the long trek from the academy to Peterson, now Space Force Base. So a whopping 11 miles. Ended up rooming with now Major Michael Hussar. He's a 2014er.
Okay, very cool.
We roomed together for 3 or 4 years.
Papa Hoos.
Got the unique opportunity. So I was an LRO, logistics readiness officer.
Okay.
Got to learn the space mission a little bit, which was kind of unique. It was a little bit more of a challenge. While it wasn't its own separate branch at that point in time, it was still palpably different than the Air Force that we were accustomed to and that we learned about. So that was unique. Got to be the executive officer a couple times for a little bit at the wing, but then the majority of the time there at the group, which was a unique challenge in of itself. More or less for all of our non-military guys, the exec is, I don't think I could say the word on this podcast, but
thank you for sparing the audience.
Assistant, I think assistant is the PG version. No, it was cool. I got the opportunity for 2 colonels that I still keep in contact with today.
Very good.
Wonderful individuals. I actually got to learn a lot. But what's really cool is one of the perks of the job is you are in rooms that lieutenants and captains should not be in.
Yeah.
Because you're at, the 06, 05, senior 05, junior 06 round, to where you're getting to understand how decisions are made, the adversity that other squadrons are overcoming and the issues and how leaders are putting their heads together. Help solve. So it was really cool. Then I PCS to Davis-Monthan, and I'm joining the real Air Force, right? Because space had a negative stigma around, especially in the LRO community, that just wasn't a large mission in the space. So I'm going to Davis-Monthan. Okay, man, we got a real mission. I mean, we have 600-person squadron. Hey, this is where the rubber meets the road for LROs, right? So I then got the chance to volunteer and receive an awesome opportunity to be the installation deployment officer in Kuwait. Super excited. And then about a week prior, my now wife, her and I were actually going to a trip. All my stuff's in storage because I'm about to deploy in like 2 weeks. So we're dating at the time. We're going to go on a trip. I am boarding the plane and I get a call alerting me that I've been redlined for this deployment for medical reasons, because there was a concern that I wouldn't be able to forward deploy to other locations. Now it's back in 2018, 2019 timeframe, whenever TBI was a big deal. Well, as I shared earlier, with me having a few concussions on the books and what kind of led to my demise in my football career, that came back to haunt me. So I go to my boss, who was an 05 at the time. I was like, man, if I can't go to Kuwait, I mean, that's a borderline long PCS. I mean, Kuwait, at the time, and I was like, well, I can't go to Kuwait. Where can I deploy? She goes, I don't like your chance. I was like, well, man, I'd like to resign. And she was like, Jared, take the week. Don't make any rash decisions. And I was like, man, I can't send these men and women out the door, missing anniversaries, birthdays, births. I would feel like such a poser being a flight commander and, eventually, squadron and others. I couldn't do it. So I separated. I actually took advantage of the Skill Bridge program.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I separated in late 2019.
Okay.
And that's when I began my transition.
Okay. Okay. That's an incredible experience and perspective. And I think you really um something really stuck out to me, that last little part you said about the dissonance you had from like, how can I lead these men and women to go and execute the mission? And you felt like you were in a place to where in your mind you felt like you didn't have that capability based off of some of the medical things, and how you wrestle with that and it made you feel like, I don't know, an imposer or an imposter, whatever the case may be.
I would say
Yeah.
less than. I
Yeah.
mean, there's something about earning your stripes.
Yeah.
Whenever you are downrange, I mean, the mission, the tempo is a lot different. I mean, there's something about being in the military, what it means to be a vet. Honestly, I guess if we're really getting deep here, I would say I struggle with, being labeled as a veteran just as much as I do with the whole Bolt brother, because again, I'm a vet that didn't deploy. I'm a
Yeah.
Bolt brother that didn't graduate as a football player. I did not go to the White House when we won the commander chief. So like it's really interesting, man, whenever you really want to unpack that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Very much
wanted
so.
to deploy. That I would have felt like my military career, however long, was almost incomplete because of that.
Yeah. And you're shedding light. I said this in a previous episode about, it's interesting when we have these conversations, because I always have this idea in my mind of the person who I'm interviewing and who's on the show. And certainly I have connotations with who Jared Jones is, and me knowing this guy since 2010 when we were at the prep school and navigating through the academy together in certain capacities. And I have no idea about this other side of you and things that you wrestle with. And it brings something out of me too, because um this isn't something I've shared on the show until now, but I was not an academy graduate who completed his 5-year contract. I was not an academy graduate who pinned on captain. And those are things that I carry with me to this day, that for the longest time I struggle, and I was medically separated as a first lieutenant. And so, we're on social media, we see our classmates, like, like you said, you saw your classmates going to the White House for the Commander in Chief trophy. For me, it was like seeing my classmates go on to pin on captain, seeing some of my classmates, going back to the academy to be majors and be AOCs, Air Officer Commanding in squadrons. It was tough, man. It was difficult. And like, I think that I have an appreciation for where I am now in life. And I think that I allude to this in episode 1, although I didn't disclose why some of my identity struggles were what they are. Like, here we are unpacking it right now. So I think this was like a very timely conversation. And maybe now we reach another level of like transparency and vulnerability on the Bolt Brotherhood podcast because of some of what you shared.
Well, I appreciate that, Christian. Honestly, I think we have so much room for improvement within the Bolt Brotherhood and what that means. I think the more honest we are with each other, because look, the statistics are what they are, as far as from the veterans and some of the crises that we're facing. But, I think as men, as women, whatever, regardless, we need to be a little bit more vulnerable, especially in our community. And if we're going to identify ourselves with the Bolt Brotherhood community, and look, this is the majority of the listeners are going to be people that wore those straps, right? Or the bolts. So yeah, man, if, I want to be that guy towards like, damn, Jared, I want to give you a call. Let's talk through this, because I struggle with this as well. How did you get over it? And then I'm far from perfect. I've not handled everything right. I continue to make mistakes, but I would like the opportunity if someone who maybe had a similar experience to me could give me a call in return.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good. No, quality conversation. We've done some things and I really appreciate it. We'll keep it going because I want to talk about a few more things before we come to a conclusion. But you are in the defense sales space, right? And so, and for me, in my mind, my connotation is, I'm thinking that's adjacent to like, defense and military, service and whatnot. And so, if you would just enlighten our audience on what you do in defense tech sales, maybe what the day-to-day is, and like, what your transition was like. Cause like you said, you separated before that 5-year commitment, if you will. So what was transition like for you?
So let's see. So I went from being a Captain Jones on a Friday to a transformation strategist on a Monday. So I went into the world of retail banking. Really unique opportunity there. I got to really get involved in, some of the inner workings of the missions of some of our community breaks and credit unions across the country. Really awesome opportunity there. I was at that company for about 5 years. Rose to the level of senior vice president over there. Really, really a rewarding time. Unfortunately, for personal family reasons, it just made more sense that I needed something different out of a career. And another fellow Bolt brother of ours, Keith Link, another 2015 guy, him and I go to the same church, and we're walking out. We're walking out on Sunday, and I've been wrestling with, the current professional dynamic that I had. And long story short, Keith and I were talking on Sunday, and I think I agreed to come on Impress, I think that following Wednesday. So,
Yeah.
so it was an awesome opportunity. I was very transparent with him. I was like, "Hey man, I can't spell IT, and this is a defense tech sales company. So what are we doing here?" And long story short, what's kind of awesome about the Bolt brothers, sweating the same sweat, bleeding the same blood that we do in that locker room, and of course the greater academy as a whole. But specifically in that locker room, you kind of know what I know what Christian Spears has in, and I hope that you know what you have in me. And what's kind of nice about that is, Keith and I have remained, great friends. We intentionally live about 10 miles down from the road. Our families get together once
Very
every 2
nice.
weeks, maximum, the minimum, I should say. So anyways, he offered the role to be on his team. And so it's me, Keith Link, and Jake DeRuiter. Jake DeRuiter is a friend of the program for many years. Obviously, his father was a defensive coordinator for us, and Jake was a recruited long snapper for us. So anyways, it's the three of us we're trying to conquer the Air Force and Space Force, man, to take care of the tech needs that's around us. So it's an awesome opportunity, man. It's an opportunity for me to actually get tied into mission. I feel like I make a more palpable difference today in the Air Force and Space Force than I did when I was serving. It's so unique how much I get to quarterback certain requirements and certain needs that truly move the needle to kill bad guys. Keith, Jake, and I, we have a wonderful team dynamic that we're very transparent. We hold each other really accountable. But the mission, the way that we are solving the mission's requirements, man, it gets me going. I'm not gonna lie. I have so much job fulfillment. One, because of the people I work with. Two, because of our customers, our partners, whenever they bring us these problems. And I get to call on our academy network a lot. It's an awesome cult that we belong to. And it really helps me kind of open doors that I didn't anticipate I ever needed opening. But, luckily I have some people that went before us that kind of saw around the corner a little bit better than I did, and really helped us out. And man, I couldn't speak higher of our team.
Yeah.
So
That's phenomenal. Yeah. And that, to me, Jared, that speaks to the ties that we have broadly. So let's start way out and then we'll zoom in, right? So like the ties we have as service members, the ties we have as members who served in the U.S. Air Force, the ties we have as members who served as officers in the U.S. Air Force, the ties as academy grads, the ties as football players, both brothers, right? And so it's just like, even like, that's where the rubber meets the road and like the proof is in the pudding, because just because you didn't graduate as a football player on the Fighting Falcon football team, I imagine your business partners don't look at you any differently or any less. Like you've already earned.
They don't look
Yeah.
at our ESPN profile.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So the brotherhood, the ties are deep. The ties are very deep, and it's brotherhood beyond the game. Is this kind of this mantra that I think about too, especially as that I want to champion as we continue to have guests on the show. So so big topic here, big question here. This one's not a softball, but let's talk about identity, right? And you said from 5 to 22. That's a long time to play football or to do anything and to commit to anything at the level you need to commit to something like the sport of football. And so there's football in your background. We've talked a little about the family side of things. We talked about being an officer. We talked about life on the civilian side. But when you think about identity beyond football, how has that kind of molded and formed for you in the years beyond the game?
So to summarize that, so the question is what is my identity post football, post military? What I aspire to be is, so I have a almost 2-year-old daughter here. I hope I make her proud. It's going to break my heart one day whenever she realizes I'm not perfect. I'm a husband. And she'll be the first one to tell you I'm not perfect. But I would say I identify. It's kind of like, and this sounds kind of corny, man, but one of my favorite core values that was instilled us in the Air Force is excellence in all of you.
There we go.
And I remember in basic, of course, it's being beat into you in 7 different ways. But whenever you really try to break down excellence in all you do, and then you start talking about your identity, I make many flaws. I think if we're all being humble here, I think, everyone would admit to that as well. But I think it's this whole aspect of what I try to identify is I don't want to make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
And I want to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
Whether that's spiritually, whether that's physically, whether that's mentally, whether it's, whatever aspect of your life is, I think there's something that I try to embody in my identity to where I do want to strive to be excellent. I fall short often. But it's something that I want to continue to work on. I want to be the guy that whenever, one of my Bolt brothers is starting up a podcast, I want to be one of the first ones that you think of. And I'm so honored that I was. And I want to be the guy on LinkedIn, whether it's, some guy that, went to the Naval Academy, but he's 3 years younger than me in high school. And he saw that I went to the Air Force Academy. So I was able to connect him with the guy that I went to school with that's hiring from the Navy yesterday. And I just want to be the guy that someone can depend on. That's what I would identify as now. And I think it does say, like, obviously with you being a safety, you need to depend on me to take out that pulling guard sometimes for you to make the play in the C gap. Right. So it's just something about being dependable is what I really strive to identify as, man, in all aspects of life, whatever you want to apply that to.
I will say this, and I'm not trying to offend anyone else who's been on the show, but that's one of the best responses to that prompt to date. So very good. Dependability, reliability, and striving to identify in that way. And again, one thing about identity is like we have our identity of ourselves, but I think it speaks volumes when other people like affirm that, right? So like you said, I reached out to you, or when someone thinks of Jared Jones and they think like, yeah, that's a dependable guy. And like that's really where, again, where the rubber meets the road is like it's easy for me to say I'm a nice guy, but if everybody I interact with thinks I'm a mean dude with a mean streak, like, how valid is that? And so for you to really strive and aspire to being dependable, being reliable, being someone that people could count on, where it will really show up is when you see the evidence of it, when you see the evidence of someone reaching out to you, when you see the evidence of you talking to a friend that you go to church with, and he's like, man, let's do this thing together. So there you go. Very good. All right. So last question for you, Jared. We're gonna land the plane here, no pun intended. But if you were to think back to your time at the Air Force Academy as a student athlete, as a cadet, specifically during that time, prep school included, if you would like to, what is one lesson that you learned during that time as a cadet and student athlete that you find yourself applying all these years later, personally, professionally, or both?
Man, I hate to repeat the answer here, but I think it is very similar to whatever you got, real quick with you can't do it alone. I've had some adversity here in my personal life and my professional life, and I've never once had to do it alone. And I think it was a skill set that was, whether it's, trying to awkwardly position your legs underneath someone failing doing push-ups, or whether it's going EI, man, it's something that was quite literally almost beat into you day in and day out. And I think it's a skill that I have leveraged in my personal life, professional life, that I don't try to do things alone, man.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very tight network. I have some awesome people in my circle that I never once had to overcome anything alone.
That's powerful.
And I'm so fortunate for that skill that it taught me.
Wonderful. Knock that out of the park. That's the note we'll end on for our audience. Can't do it alone. Jared Jones, class of 2015. This concludes episode 7 of the Bolt Brotherhood Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Jared, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom that we hope will impart to our audience and current or Bolt brothers, current student athletes on the Hill, and those that ripple throughout all of time. And so that concludes episode 7. Christian Spears signing off with the Bolt Brotherhood Podcast. Stay tuned for more.
Can't wait to see what this turns into, man. Can't wait.